Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you guys there. I was just checking out the NBC World Series' new app. You can find this app at the App Store. All you need to do is type in NBCWS to be caught up on all things NBC World Series.
NBC World Series, it all happens here.
And we welcome you to Lawrence Dumont Stadium along the banks of the Arkansas River for day 2 of Championship Week of the 84th National Baseball Congress World Series, powered by Westar Energy. This is Frank Martinez, and I will be your play-by-play announcer for tonight's game. Tonight's game will feature the visiting team, the Everett Washington Merchants, versus the home team, the San Antonio, Texas Angels. The Merchants come out of the Pacific International League, and San Antonio comes from the Centex Collegiate Baseball League. Here's our starting lineups for today's game. First of all, for the visiting team, the Merchants, leading off and playing center field will be number 10, Gavin Work. Batting second, the second baseman, number 5, Anthony Gomez. Batting third will be the third baseman, number 15, Max Witt. Batting fourth and playing first base will be number 16, Jake Tilley. Batting fifth and playing left field will be number 34, Casey Bailey. Batting sixth and playing shortstop will be number 7, Andy Atwood. Batting seventh and playing right field will be number 21, Ethan Smith. Batting eighth and DHing will be number 32, Evan Johnson. Batting ninth and catching, number 25, Marcus McCannell. Pitching for Everett will be number 41, Kobe Neely. Neely on the mound for the Merchants. The Merchants are coached by head coach Harold Hyatt, assisted by Ryan Brown, George Farron, and Mike McCullough. And now, here's the starting lineup for the home team, the San Antonio, Texas Angels. Leading off and playing shortstop will be number 11, Jack Wisniewski. Batting second, the right fielder, number 34, Ian Bailey. Batting third will be the third baseman, number 13, Jose Diaz. Batting fourth and playing first base will be number 40, Nick Hamill. Batting fifth and DHing will be number 4, Garrett Wilkinson. Batting sixth and playing left field, number 26, Dylan Stump. Batting seventh and playing second base will be number 1, Ryan Kincaid. Batting eighth and catching will be number 15, Spencer Lloyd. Batting ninth and playing center field will be number 44, Jordan Billups. And pitching for San Antonio will be number 24, Richard Gilbert. Coach for the Angels is Howard Palmer. Once again, this is the first game of both these two teams. The San Antonio Angels, Texas Angels, qualified from last week. They're one of the two teams that qualified, and they are now in the championship week. The Everett Washington Merchants were second place runners-up from last year's NBC World Series. and they see their first action here this evening. Our game time is scheduled for 11 o'clock. Guys are still warming up, so we have just a little bit before we get started. The wind is blowing out of the south at a pretty good pace. So anything hit out into left field will be interesting for both these two teams. Need to let you know the scores of today's action. This morning's game, or this afternoon's first game, was the Colorado Cyclones, was another team that qualified from last week. They beat the Colorado Black Bears 10-1 in 7 innings. And then the National Junior College national team came back and defeated the San Diego, California Force 7-6 in extra innings. And then we had another extra inning game which just got over with, and it was the San Diego, California Waves defeating the Cheney, Kansas Diamond Dogs 8-7. Some great ball games. That's why we're starting a little late here tonight. Once again, this game was scheduled to start at 9:30 and now scheduled for 11 o'clock. It is now 11:01, and it looks like the San Antonio, Texas Angels are about ready to take the field. Our umpires for tonight's game at home plate will be Mike Lentz. First base will be Brian Solier. And at third base will be Doug McClure. Let's set up our defense. For you, for San Antonio. At first base, number 40, Hamill. Second baseman, number 1, Kincaid. Shortstop, number 11, Wisniewski. Third baseman, number 13, Diaz. In left field, number 26, Stump. Center fielder will be number 44, Billups. Right fielder, number 34, Bailey. Catching, number 15, Lloyd. And pitching for San Antonio, number 24, Richard Gilbert. Gilbert on the mound for the Angels. Gilbert for the Angels is a left-handed pitcher from San Antonio, Texas. He's a 6'2", 215-pounder. And he's a sophomore out of Blinn Junior College. He'll be facing the first batter for the Merchants will be center fielder number 10, Gavin Work. Gavin bats left-handed, throws right. He's from Arlington, Washington. He's a 5'11", 160-pounder from Seattle University. All right, we're about ready to get started here. Once again, this is Frank Martinez. I'll be your play-by-play announcer for tonight. We hope you enjoyed tonight's action. Gavin Rourke up to bat now for the Everett, Washington Merchants. And Gilbert's first pitch is called strike one. 0-1 the count. The second pitch is also a strike. No balls, 2 strikes, as we're just now underway here at Lawrence Dumont Stadium along the banks of the Arkansas River. Missing low and outside. 84th National Baseball Congress World Series powered by West Star Energy. Swinging for strike 3. So Gilbert records his first strikeout of the ball game. It's going to bring up the second baseman, number 5, Anthony Gomez.
Second baseman number 5, Anthony Gomez.
And Gomez bats right-handed, throws right. He's from Pembroke Pines, Florida. He's a 6-foot, 180-pounder. He's a junior out of the University of Texas, Rio Grande. And 1 ball, no strikes now to Gomez. Gilbert misses inside. Count goes 2-0 now. As we have 1 out here in the top half of the first inning between the Everett Washington Merchants and the San Antonio, Texas Angels. 3-0 now as Gilbert falls behind. A nice cool 79 degrees here in Wichita, Kansas, as the winds are keeping it cool here in the ballpark. All strike 1, 3-1 now the count to Anthony Gomez. There's a foul ball along the right-hand side. It's going to be out of the stadium. So the count will now go full now, 3-2 to second baseman Gomez. And here's Richard Gilbert's pitch, missing low and for ball 4. So Gomez takes first base on 4 balls. It's going to bring up the third baseman, number 15, Max Witt. Witt bats left-handed. He's from Granite Falls, Washington. He's a 6-foot, 190-pounder. He's a graduate out of Lewis Clark State College. And the ball hit right back to Gilbert, goes to first for out number 2. That was Gilbert to Hamill. 1-3 is the play for out 2. On that play, Gomez goes to second base, and that's going to bring up the first baseman, number 16, Jake Tilley. And today is Tilley's birthday, so we want to say happy birthday. He did say that he wanted to say hello to his family back at home, and he said he's having a great day on his birthday. There's the ball messing inside, so the count goes to 2 balls and no strikes to Jake Tilley. 2 out here in the top half of the first inning with a runner at second base. And stepping off is Richard Gilbert, so back to second goes Gomez. And there's a ball messing inside. 3-0 now the count. I didn't ask Tilley how old he was, because when you're my age, anybody below 50 is very young. There's the ball, gets away from the catcher, Lloyd, but Tilley reaches first base on balls. That's going to bring up the left fielder, number 34, Casey Bailey. Bailey bats left-handed, throws right. He's from Tacoma, Washington. He's a 6'3", 220-pounder. Senior from Lewis Clark State College. So we have runners at first and second now with 2 outs here in the top half of the first inning for the Everett Washington Merchants. There's a pitch hit in the outside corner by Richard Gilbert. Count evens up now at 1 ball, 1 strike. 2 down now. Wisniewski was trying to hold second base Gomez. And Richard Gilbert stepped off. There's a ball missing low. And that takes the count to 2 balls, 1 strike. We had a great crowd for the feature game. Some of those folks have decided to hang around. Decent crowd. Ball hit along the first base side. Hamill snags it, but it is foul. So the runners will go back. Gomez back to second base, and Tilley, who got a little birthday present with a base on balls. He's standing at first base now. And there's the pitch from Gilbert that bounces in front of home plate. Nice job there by Lloyd to block that and keep the runners at first and second. Count is 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, and 2 on base. Correction, it is a full count now. Full count, 3-2, and there goes the runners. And the ball hit over the second baseman's head. Kincaid into center field. Billups comes charging in and gets the ball in, but not before Anthony Gomez rounds thirds and scores from second base. So Bailey records a base hit and an RBI. And on the play, Tilley ends up at third base. So the Everett Merchants take an early lead, 1-0 here in the top half of the first inning. That's going to bring up the shortstop, number 7, Andy Atwood. Their pitch missing outside. Atwood is from Everett, Washington. He's a 5'11", 180-pounder junior out of the University of Texas Rio Grande. And the count goes to a 1 ball, 1 strike now to Atwood, with Tilley at third base and Bailey at first. Just hitting the inside corner was Gilbert. The count goes to 1 ball, 2 strikes now to Andy Atwood. And there goes the runner, Bailey, to second base. And swing and a miss, and strike 3. Catcher hung on to the ball, so Atwood goes down for out number 3. At the end of the top half of the first inning for the Merchants, they scored 1 run, so it is 1-0 in favor of the Merchants. We'll be right back.
Join us and help kids learn to walk, talk, and play with their peers by supporting Heart Springs pediatric programs. Heart Springs' 15th annual Pedal Fest bike ride is on Saturday, August 25th. Hop on your bike and pick the ride that's best for you. Pedal Fest has a route for everyone, from a 100K to a 5-mile family ride and 60K gravel ride. After the ride, rest your weary legs with a cold beer, lunch, and some family fun. Go to kwch.com for more information. Join the ride and help make a difference.
We welcome you back to this game between the Everett Washington Merchants, the visiting team, and the home team, the San Antonio, Texas Angels. We are in the bottom half of the first inning as the Merchants scored 1 run on 1 hit, no errors, and 2 left on base. Defensively for the Merchants at first base will be number 16, Tilley. Second baseman will be number 5, Gomez. The shortstop, number 7, Atwood. Third baseman will be number 15, Witt. Left fielder will be number 34, Bailey. Center fielder, number 10, Rourke. Right fielder number 21, Smith. Catcher number 25, Marcus McKennell. And pitching will be number 41, Kobe Neely. Neely on the mound for the Everett Washington Merchants. Neely is a right-handed pitcher from Mill Creek, Washington. He's a 6'5", 200-pounder, and he is an ex-pro. And Neely ready to face his first batter. It's the shortstop, number 11, Jack Wisniewski. First pitch is ball 1 to Wisniewski. Wisniewski bats left-handed. He's from San Antonio, Texas. He's a 6', 185-pounder, sophomore out of Trinity, Texas. And the count evens up now at 1 ball, 1 strike. to Jack Wisniewski, the shortstop for the Angels. There's a ball hit to the second baseman, Gomez, and we'll see how that's recorded. But Wisniewski is going to be at first base.
To support the NBC World Series and the positive energy it brings to our community. We're looking forward to a bright future together.
That's going to bring up the right fielder number 34, Ian Bailey.
Right fielder number 34, Ian Bailey.
With the runner at first base. Bailey is from San Antonio, Texas. He's a 6', 200-pounder, a redshirt sophomore from Grambling. Count is no balls, 2 strikes now to Ian Bailey. And there was an error there on the second baseman. Ball hit up the middle between Atwood and Gomez into center field. And Rourke fires that ball into Atwood. So Bailey records his first hit of the game. And Wisniewski is at second base now. Now batting will be the third baseman, number 13, Jose Diaz. Diaz is from Converse, Texas. He's a 6', 290-pounder, a junior from OLL University. Count is no balls and 1 strike now to Jose Diaz. And there's Neely's pitch fouled off by Diaz. Along the first base side, goes into the Merchants bullpen. So the count now is no balls and 2 strikes with a runner at first and second and nobody out here in the bottom half of the second inning for the San Antonio, Texas Angels. There's a foul ball along the right-hand side. So the count stays no balls and 2 strikes. He's going to try to catch that miles per hour on the fastball and went off the screen before I got a chance to see it. But here comes Kobe Neely. A breaking ball. Ball hits the right-hand side over Tilly's head. 80 miles per hour. And the count stays at no balls, 2 strikes to Jose Diaz, the third baseman for the Angels. Seems like the wind's picking up just a little bit. It kind of died there for about 10 minutes, and then now it's back up again. All blowing from right to left, which means anything hit into left field is going to get just a little bit of a boost. If you get it high enough, we've had plenty of home runs. Matter of fact, we had 2 grand slams here today. And the count is 1 ball, 2 strikes. And missing outside is Neely. Evens up the count now at 2-2. Had some good ball games here today. The crowd really enjoyed the action and some real nice plays. There's a ball missing low and outside. So the count goes full now. Once again, we have runners at first and second with no outs. We'll see how aggressive San Antonio is here. I'm sure they don't want to get doubled up. And it fouled off along the right-hand side into the stands. And we have 5 or 6 kids all going after it, trying to get that NBC souvenir. Full count, 3-2 to Jose Diaz. And there's Neely's pitch and a hit to the right-hand side. Out of play.
Autotech is a one-stop service center for all your vehicle service needs, located at 4411 West Central. Home of the $24 oil change.
Runners are taking just a slight lead on the pitch. Like I say, they don't want to get doubled up so early here in the ball game with no outs. And here's Neely's pitch, and the ball hit to the shortstop. Coming in is Atwood. Atwood goes to second base. Gomez, and over to first, but not in time. So Diaz will reach on a fielder's choice. Wisniewski ends up at third base, and it's 6-4 on the putout. That's going to bring up the first baseman, number 40, Nick Hamill for San Antonio. Hamill bats right, and there goes Diaz. Ball caught by the shortstop, Atwood, and he doubles up Diaz, who had taken off to second base. That's exactly what they didn't want, but they ended up getting it. So at the bottom half of the first inning for the Angels, they scored no runs. At the end of one, it's the Merchants 1 and the Angels 0. We'll be right back. Well, we welcome you back here to the action between the Everett Merchants, visiting team, and the home team, the San Antonio, Texas Angels. As we're going to the top half of the second inning, and leading off for the Merchants will be the right fielder, number 21, Ethan Smith. Once again, the score at the end of one, it's the Merchants 1 and the Angels 0. So Ethan Smith is now up to bat. There's a ball hit to the shortstop. Goes to first for out number 1. That was Wisniewski to Hamill for the out. 6-3. Going to bring up the designated hitter, number 32, Evan Johnson. He's a 5', 895 pounder, senior out of Northern Colorado University. And I believe it's pronounced North Quimane, Washington. If I mispronounced that, my apologies. Count is 1 ball, 1 strike. Oh, the ball hit right back up to Gilbert. Knocks his glove off. And hit into center field. And in with a base hit is Evan Johnson. As Gilbert went down to his knees. As that ball went right past on the right-hand side. So a base hit. Going to bring up the catcher, number 25, Marcus McKennell. McKennell is from Kirkland, Washington. He's a 6'3", 230-pounder from Everett Community College. He's a freshman. And the count is no balls and 1 strike now to McCannell. Johnson's on at first base as he lined that base hit into center field. Count is 1 ball, 1 strike. Ball got away just from Lloyd just for a second. But no advancement. 1-1 the count. And there's a pitch by Gilbert hitting the outside corner. Called by home plate umpire Mike Lentz. So the count is 1-2 now. Gilbert's changeup missing high, 72 miles an hour. Evens up the count now to 2 balls and 2 strikes. With a runner at first base and 1 down here in the top half of the second inning as the Merchants are up 1-0 over the Angels. There's a ball missing low and inside. So the count goes full now at 3 balls and 2 strikes. And we have a timeout now as McKenna steps out. There's a foul ball that's out of the stadium on the right-hand side.
If that foul ball was caught by your vehicle, give Legacy Advisors Insurance
So the count is 3 balls, 2 strikes with 1 out.
protected. 316-773-9864.
And here's the pitch from Gilbert. Call strike 3. McKenna goes down looking. That is Gilbert's 3rd strikeout of the ball game. It's going to bring up the center fielder, number 10, Gavin Rourke. Rourke is 0 for 1. There's a foul bunt attempt, and it's fouled off as Lloyd hustled back, but was not able to get to that. So the count is no balls and 1 strike. Once again, Rourke is 0 for 1, has 1 strikeout as he struck out to start off the ball game. And here's Gilbert's pitch. Check swing there by Rourke. And the count evens up at 1 ball, 1 strike. To Gavin Rourke. There goes the runner to second base. Throw by Lloyd. Not going to be in time. That stolen base by Evan Johnson. As he reaches second base. So count is 2 balls and 1 strike now to Gavin Rourke. The ball hits to the third base side. A diving stop there by Diaz. Diaz goes up and makes the throw to first base. Hamill in time for out number 3. Great defensive job there by Diaz. And at the end of 1.5, it is the Merchants 1 and the Angels 0. We'll be right back.
Guess how much I got this seat for? Only $5. Yes, $5 because of our $5 baseball nights. And our $5 baseball starts Sunday, July 29th and goes till Thursday, August 2nd. And then we will have our final $5 baseball night on Tuesday, August 7th. So make sure to go pick up your $5 baseball vouchers at Goodwill and Quick Trip in the Wichita area.
Well, we welcome you back here to Lawrence Dumont Stadium here in Wichita, Kansas for the 84th National Baseball Congress World Series, powered by West Star Energy. We are in the bottom half of the second inning as the Merchants scored 1 run in the top half of the first inning. And that's where we stand at, the Merchants 1 and San Antonio 0. Coming up to bat here in the bottom half of the second inning, the designated hitter number 4, Garrett Wilkinson for the Angels. Wilkinson is from San Antonio, Texas. He's a 6-foot, 205-pounder sophomore from Midland Junior College. Right-handed batter, He's down 0-1. There's a fly ball into right field. Back to make that catch, Ethan Smith for out number 1. It's going to bring up the left fielder, number 26, Dylan Stump, for San Antonio. Stump is also from San Antonio, Texas. He's a 6 foot, 165 pounder junior from University of Texas. There's a foul ball. Sorry about that. Thought broke the window there for a second. And the count is 1 ball, 1 strike. And there's Kobe Neely. Pitch in for a strike. 1-2 now the count to Dylan Stump. And there's a fly ball into right field. Ethan Smith gets under it and makes the catch for out number 2. So 2 plays that hit the right field. Smith records both those outs. It's going to bring up the second baseman, number 1, Ryan Kincaid. And that foul ball along the left-hand side from Church, Texas. That's 5'11", 180 pounder. He's a junior out of Tarleton. And he's going to have to go back and get a different bat. Apparently he's cracked that bat. No balls, 1 strike now to Kincaid. And the ball hit to the shortstop, Atwood, and he misplays that, bounces right underneath his glove, and the ball almost gets away from Rourke as it takes a funny bounce and goes up his arm. Moves to the right, was able to corral it. But Kincaid is now at first base. It's going to bring up the catcher, number 15, Spencer Lloyd. They're going to give Kincaid a base hit. A fly ball to second baseman Gomez, backs up and makes the catch almost in short center field. Makes the catch for out number 3. At the end of 2 innings of play, the score, the Everett Washington Merchants 1 and the San Antonio, Texas Angels 0. We'll be right back. Well, we welcome you back here at Lawrence Dumont Stadium, and you're watching the Everett Washington Merchants as they're up 1-0 over the San Antonio, Texas Angels. We're heading to the top half of the 3rd inning. This is the second time to bat for batters coming up. And the first batter coming up will be the second baseman, number 5, Anthony Gomez. We just made that put out in short center field.
Number 5, Anthony Gomez.
And we have a penalty. Ball 1 by home plate umpire Mike Lentz. The horn didn't sound, but it should have.
Correction, strike 1.
Correction, now the umpire says strike 1. And that was kind of more like it because the batters we have 90 seconds between pitches, and he was not in there within 5 seconds. He have to be in there within 5 seconds of the clock running down. If you're not, pitcher can hang on to the ball, and it will be a strike against you, and that's exactly what Mike Lentz did there at home plate. But he did record a ball first. He stuck out his left hand and kind of threw us off a little bit. So the count now showing 2 balls and 1 strike to Anthony Gomez, who reached on a base on balls the first inning and scored a run, as Casey Bailey had a base hit to get that RBI. Gomez across home plate. 3 balls and 1 strike now from Richard Gilbert. Ball flied off to the right-hand side into the stands. So the count even goes to 3-2 now, full count to Anthony Gomez. 11:35 here in Wichita, Kansas. 78 degrees. Beautiful day. Baseball, there's a base hit by Anthony Gomez. Gomez records his first hit of the game, as he had Kincaid moving to his right and was not able to reach that ball. The ball goes into center field. So Gomez is on first base, and that brings up the third baseman, number 15, Max Witt. Witt hit a sharp ball right back to the pitcher, who went to first, as he recorded the second out of the inning in the top half of the first inning. So Witt is 0 for 1. Count is 1 ball, no strikes now to Witt. And there's Gilbert missing inside. 2-0 now the count. Both teams wearing the Everett is black on gray, and San Antonio looks black on gray. Might be a darker blue. There goes the runner at Gomez to second base. That is fouled off by Max Witt. So Gomez will hit back to first base. And the count is 2 balls and 1 strike to Max Witt, the third baseman for the Merchants. And here's the pitch by Gilbert, and it's fouled off. Back to the screen. Once again, defensively for San Antonio, first base Hamill, second base Kincaid, Wisniewski at shortstop, Diaz at third. Stump in left field, Billups in center field, and Bailey in right field. And there's a toss over to first base as Gomez heads back. Toss by Gilbert to Hamill. Not a big threat there as far as trying to get that pick off. He was just reminding him that he has not forgot about him at first base. And there goes Gomez to second base. The ball hit the diving Diaz to the right-hand side, and Gomez is going to end up at third base. And now they got Witt cut down in a rundown, but he's going to be back safely as the third baseman Diaz almost ran that all the way back to first base before he finally threw the first, but Witt ends up going to first base safely after that base hit. A hard hit ball along the third base side as Gomez dove to his right, but it was inside the line. A nice job there by the left fielder, Stump, to keep Witt at a single. So now we have runners at first, and now we have runners at first and third, as Gomez ends up at third base. And the count is 1 ball, no strikes, and no outs here in the top half of the third inning as the Everett Merchants are threatening to score again. Ball missing inside and low from Gilbert. 2-0 the count now. To Jake Tilley is the batter. First baseman for the Merchants. There's a ball hit to the right-hand side, going to go foul. Ends up in the Merchants bullpen. So the count's 2 balls and 1 strike now to Jake Tilley. Left-hander Gilbert comes with a throw, and it's going to be low for ball 3. 3-1 now the count. There's the ball hit to the right-hand side. Hamill is tracking it down, makes the catch for out number 2. Correction, out number 1.
Left fielder, number 34, Casey Bailey.
Gomez took off running, but he was just trying to see if he can get a throw from the first baseman, Hamill. It's going to bring up the left fielder, number 34, Casey Bailey. Bailey, a left-handed batter. Had a base hit the first time at bat, and there's a hard-hit ball past Kincaid as he dove up to try to get that, but was out of his reach. So Bailey records his second hit of the game, and now has an RBI as Gomez comes in to score. Now takes the score to the Merchants 2 and the Angels 0. So we have Bailey at first base, and Witt is at second. Now batting will be the shortstop, number 7, Andy Atwood.
Shortstop, number 7, Andy Atwood.
And catcher Lloyd is now going out to talk to Richard Gilbert, the pitcher, as that ball was low and almost got away from Lloyd. So he was make a stop and no advancement. So 2-0 here in the. We're in the top half of the 3rd inning between the Merchants and the Angels. And Richard Gilbert comes with the pitch. Low for ball 2. So we have 2 balls and no strikes. Runners at first and second with 1 out here in the top half of the 3rd inning. Another ball low. 3-0 the count now. The shortstop, Andy Atwood, for the Merchants. And that pitch is right down the middle. Call strike 1. 3-1 now the count. And there's a foul ball. So the count goes full now, 3-2. With runners at first and second, but we have 1 out here in the top half of the 3rd. Merchants already scored 1 run here in the top half of the 3rd. There's a hard hit ball into left center field. Billups goes to his right, makes the catch, and a quick throw into Wisniewski. So the runners hold, and now we have 2 down. If we have a F8, it's going to bring up the right fielder, number 21, Ethan Smith. Smith started off the 2nd inning as he grounded out to the shortstop to make the first out of that inning. So he's 0 for 1. There's a hard hit ball to the right-hand side, goes into the stands. And the count, no balls, 1 strikes with 2 outs. Here in the top half of the 3rd inning to score the Merchants 2 and the Angels 0. Ball right down the middle. 0-2 now the count to Smith. And Gilbert trying to get out of this inning. There's a swing and a hit to the third baseman as he cuts off Wisniewski at short. Makes the play, so it's 5-3, but not before the Merchants score another run. So at the end of 2.5, it is the Everett Washington Merchants 2 and the San Antonio, Texas Angels 0. We'll be right back.
Make the most of every single moment. After the game, see what's happening at visitwichita.com.
And we welcome you back here to Lawrence Dumont Stadium at the 84th National Baseball Congress World Series, powered by West Star Energy. This is Frank Martinez, your play-by-play announcer for today's game. You're listening and watching the Everett Washington Merchants against the San Antonio, Texas Angels. We are in the bottom half of the third inning, and coming up to bat for the Angels will be the center fielder, number 44, Jordan Billups. And Kobe Neely going into his third inning of work as he's thrown 27 pitches so far here. 21 strikes and 6 balls as recorded. Three hits. He's only faced 8 batters so far. There's a foul ball. So the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. And a swing and a miss. Strike 3. As Billups goes down for the first out. It's going to bring up the shortstop, number 11, Jack Wisniewski. And the ball hit to the second baseman. Gomez goes to Tilley for out number 2. 4-3 is the put out for the second out. Going to bring up the right fielder, number 34, Ian Bailey.
Diamond Sports is proud to be the official ball of the NBC and many great leagues, tournaments, and organizations nationwide. You can find Diamond online at diamond-sports.com. Right fielder number 34, Ian Bailey.
Bailey is 1 for 1. And there's a hard hit ball to the left fielder. It's over his head. Ian to against the wall. That's going to be a ground rule double for Ian Bailey as he records his second hit of the game.
You can have your baseball or softball player, whether
Now recorded a single and a double.
to all 16 games of the NBC.
Now coming up to bat for San Antonio will be the third baseman, number 13, Jose Diaz. Diaz is 0 for 1. He is batting .222 here in the World Series. Like I say, San Antonio, Texas Angels did play the first week as they were one of the qualifying teams to go into championship week. And there the ball gets away from the catcher, McCannell. And going to third base is Ian Bailey. McCannell could not find that ball for a second. Finally, he was able to track it down. So Bailey is at third base now.
Then enjoy some great beer specials, starting with our $3 16-ounce Natty Light cans.
With 2 outs here in the bottom half of the third inning. And Jose Diaz up to bat. Whoa, that ball was high and inside from Kobe Neely to Diaz, and the count is 3-0. And it's going to be ball 4 now for Diaz. Diaz hustles down to first base. It's going to bring up the first baseman, number 40, Nick Hamill. As Diaz reaches on base on balls, standing at third base is Bailey. So he reached on a ground rule double and then moved over to third base on a ball that got away from the catcher. There's a ball low. So the count goes to 1 ball, 1 strike with 2 outs and a runner at first and third here in the bottom half of the third inning. The score, the Merchants 2 and the Angels nothing. And there goes Diaz to second base, who's in safely. No throw there from McKennell. So now we have runners at second and third with 2 down. Count is 2 balls, 1 strike, and there's a foul ball by Hamill, the first baseman for the San Antonio Angels. And as I take a closer look at the uniforms, they are bluish. There's a ball hit to over the third baseman's head. Witt attempts to get it, but cannot. It goes into left field, and 2 runs are going to score. Then the throw from Bailey goes over the catcher's head. So Hamill will end up at second base as Diaz scores from second base. Bailey scores from third. And now the score tied up at 2 apiece. So we got a base hit by Hamill. And I'm sure there's going to be air on the throw to allow Hamill to go to second base. It's going to bring up the designated hitter, number 4, Garrett Wilkinson. And we do now show 1 error up on the board against the Merchants. And we're in the bottom half of the third inning. The score tied up at 2 apiece. As San Antonio will just put 2 across. And there's a swing and a miss by Wilkinson, the designated hitter for San Antonio. He started off the second half of the second inning as he flew out to right field to make the first out. So he's 0 for 1 here in the ball game. But he is batting .435 for the tournament. Wilkinson's hit to left field. Bailey makes the catch for out number 3. So at the end of 3 innings of play, it's the San Antonio, Texas Angels 2 and the Everett, Washington Merchants 2. We'll be right back.
Hey, make it out every Friday of the NBC World Series this year. All college students will get free admission into the NBC World Series and will be offering $3 16-ounce Natty Light cans.
And we welcome you back here to Lawrence Dumont Stadium as we're starting the top half of the fourth inning between the Everett Washington Merchants and the San Antonio, Texas Angels. Score tied up at 2 apiece. Leading off for the Merchants will be the designated hitter, number 32, Evan Johnson. Johnson had a base hit in his first time at bat as he was the second batter in the second inning, and he was left stranded at second base. First pitch to Johnson was a ball. This one also missing outside, so the count is 2-0 now to Evan Johnson. And Richard Gilbert starting his fourth inning of work. Gilbert so far has pitched 3 innings, has had 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, 2 base on balls, and a strikeout. And Johnson will end up at first base on a base on balls. It's going to bring up the catcher, number 25, Marcus McCannell. McCannell struck out in the top half of the second inning as he recorded the second out of that inning. Matter of fact, Gilbert's last strikeout was McCannell back in that second inning. That was his third strikeout of the ball game. So McCannell's up, counts 2-0 to him, and he squares around to bunt but pulls back. Gilbert misses inside, so the count goes to 3 balls, no strikes, with a runner at first base and no outs here in the top half of the fourth inning for the Merchants. There's a ball right down the middle. 3-1 now the count to Marcus McCannell, the catcher for the Everett Merchants. And we have some action that's going to happen here for the San Antonio. And there's ball 4 to McCannell as he hits to first base. Second base on balls given up here by Gilbert in a row. It's going to bring up the leadoff batter, the center fielder, number 10, Gavin Rourke. But here comes manager to come out to talk to Richard Gilbert. I'm sure all he's trying to do is get some time for his relievers to get some work in. Up throwing for San Antonio, we have number 12. And that looks like it's Ryan Ramsey is up throwing. Also have another pitcher just joining him. But he doesn't have, he has a jersey on top of his uniform, so we can't see a number for him. Right-handed throw, both of them out, right-handed throws out in the bullpen. Rourke up to bat now for the Merchants, left-handed batter. Count goes to 2 balls, no strikes, if that one was low. And all of a sudden, Richard Gilbert finds himself in some trouble as he has walked the first 2 batters here in the top half of the fourth inning. And it's down 2-0 to Gavin Rourke. Call strike 1 by home plate umpire. Now count goes 2 balls, 1 strike. Runner at first and second with no outs. And there's a bunt attempt along the third base side, goes foul. fan with a glove just reached over as the ball rolled right into his glove, and he now has a souvenir, courtesy of the 84th National Baseball Congress World Series, powered by Westar Energy. There's the ball hit right back to Gilbert. Gilbert goes to third. That's Diaz covering third base for the force out. So Work will be on with a fielder's choice. And Johnson is out at third base, 1-5. As McKenna goes to second base on the play. It's going to bring up the second baseman, number 5, Anthony Gomez. Gomez has been on base twice now and scored both the 2 runs that the Merchants have. There's a foul ball along the right-hand side. Out of play. So Gilbert is up 0-1 to Gomez. There's a pitch that hits the outside corner. So no balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. To Anthony Gomez. The ball missing low by Gilbert. And it almost looked like Lloyd got crossed up on something because he hustled right away, went out to talk to Gilbert. Almost like he was expecting a different pitch. 1-2 the count. Gilbert's ball hit into center field by Gomez. And Billups fired the ball in, but went off the first baseman Hamill, who was the cutoff man. Went off his leg and went to third base. So we have a run scored now by McKenna. Was at second base. Work ends up at third. And Anthony Gomez records his second base hit and RBI now for Gomez. He's at first base. It's going to bring up the third baseman, number 15, Max Witt. This is Witt's third time at bat. Grounded out to the pitcher as he went 1-3. Then had a base hit in the third inning, but was stranded at second base in that third inning. So we have runners at first and third with 1 out. And 1 run scored here in the top half of the fourth inning as the Everett Merchants have retaken the lead 3-2. As McCannell scored from second base. There goes Gomez to second base. He's going to be in safely. You could see that coming. Gomez looks like he's a speedster out there. Doesn't want to stay in one place very long. Ends up at second base. The second time it's happened here in the ball game. And there's a pitch, hits the outside corner, so the count goes to 2 balls and 1 strike now to the third baseman, Max Witt, for the Merchants. As we are in the top half of the fourth inning. Ball missing low and outside now. 3-1 out to Max Witt. There's the pitch missing way outside by Richard Gilbert. So Witt will be on first base with a base on balls. Gomez at second base as he had a base hit and stole second. And on with that fielder's choice is Gavin Work is now at third base. Brings up the first baseman, number 16, Jake Tilley, who is celebrating a birthday today. And the first pitch to him is ball 1. 1-0 now the count to Tilley. Another ball low. 2-0 now the count Base is full with 1 out here in the top half of the 4th inning. Merchants up 3-2. There's the ball right down the middle. So the count goes 2 balls, 1 strike now to Tilley. And there's a ball hit to the shortstop. Wisniewski goes to second. Kincaid over to Hamill, but not in time. A great hustle there by Tilley. And a run scores from third base as Rourke comes in. Now makes it 4-2 in favor of the Merchants over the Angels. Now batting will be left fielder number 34, Casey Bailey. So Tilley reaches on a fielder's choice. There's a foul ball into the stands. And another souvenir for a fan as he reaches down below to grab that. No balls, 1 strike now to Casey Bailey. There's a ball hit along the third base side. Diaz goes into foul territory, makes the catch for out number 3. But not before the Merchants scored 2 runs here in the top half of the 4th inning. After 3.5 innings of play, it is the Merchants 4 and the Angels 2. We'll be right back.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you guys there. I was just checking out the NBC World Series' new app. You can find this app at the App Store. All you need to do is type in NBCWS to be caught up on all things NBC World Series.
NBC World Series, it all happens here.
Well, we welcome you back here. The ball game between the Everett Washington Merchants and the San Antonio, Texas Angels. As the score is the Merchants 4 and the Angels 2. So we go to the top half of the 5th inning. And pitching. Well, I was correct. It is the bottom half of the 4th inning. Forgot to turn my sheet around. All right. Neely is down 2-0. Up to bat is the left fielder, number 26, Dylan Stump. I hustled down to go get some water and forgot to turn my sheet around. All right. We're back on track. And there's ball 4 to Dylan Stump. Stump will reach on a base on balls. It's going to bring up the second baseman, number 1, Ryan Kincaid. Kincaid's second time to bat, but now first the manager comes out to talk to Kobe Neely. The Merchants started off the scoring in the top half of the first innings. They scored 1 run and then made it 2-0 in the top half of the 3rd inning. But then the Angels came back and scored 2 runs in the bottom half of that 3rd inning. And then the Merchants answered back in the top half of the 4th and scored 2 more runs as they're now up 4-2. Merchants have 6 hits so far. They have 1 error. And the Angels 2 runs with 5 hits and no errors. That was ball 1 to Kincaid. Neely still out there. 2-0 the count. As Stump is at first base, reaching on the base on balls. There's a ball missing inside. So the count now 3-0. By Kobe Neely. And there's ball 4. Kincaid will now be at first base. Stump goes to second base. It's going to bring up the catcher number 15, Spencer Lloyd. As Lloyd flew out to second baseman to end the inning in the bottom half of the second inning. 0-1 now the count. And Neely misses inside, so that evens up the count at 1 ball, 1 strike. There's a ball hit into the ground. Goes foul. So we're going to have 1 ball, 2 strikes now to Spencer Lloyd, catcher for San Antonio. Another foul ball. So it goes back to the screen. So the count stays the same, 1-2. Looks like we have some action in the Merchants bullpen. I believe it's number 37. Hastings is now up throwing for the Merchants. Also still throwing in the bullpen is number 12 for the Angels. And there's strike 3. As Lloyd goes down, records the first out of this inning. Brings up the center fielder number 44, Jordan Billups. Billups struck out to start off the inning in the third. So he's 0 for 1. Two balls and no strikes now to Billups. And that ball bounced in front of home plate, gets away from the catcher. So both runners will be advancing. Going to third base is Dylan Stump. And moving over to second base is Ryan Kincaid. As that ball bounced in front of home plate. Catcher tried to get his glove on it, but got away. And McKenna had no clue where it was for just a second. So now we have runners at second and third base with 1 out. As Jordan Billups looking for his first base hit. And that missing high for ball 4. So 3 walks given up here in the bottom half of the fourth inning by Kobe Neely. It's going to bring up the shortstop, number 11, Jack Wisniewski. And now McCannell goes out to talk to Neely. As Hastings continues to throw out in the bullpen. Wisniewski is batting .235, and there's a hard hit ball into left center field. Is going to fall in for extra bases. 1 run scores as Stump comes across. Kincaid in, now coming in also is Billups. So 3 runs will score. And ending up at second base is Jack Wisniewski with a double and 3 RBIs as all 3 runners scored on that extra base hit. That now takes the score to the San Antonio, Texas Angels 5 and the Everett Washington Merchants 4. Now here comes the manager. Looks like this is going to be it for Kobe Neely.
Your attention now pitching for Everett, number 37, Blaine Hastings.
And there is going to be a pitching change. It is going to be number 37, Blaze Hastings. He's a right-handed thrower from Guthrie, Oklahoma. Spent many times in Guthrie. He's a 6'2", a 220-pounder, senior from Oklahoma City College. Guthrie, Oklahoma is a great golfing town, and we've spent many summers in Guthrie with about 20 of us playing golf there in Guthrie. They got some great golf courses and some fine places to eat there in Guthrie. I believe Staples is the name of one of the restaurants there in Guthrie. El Rodeo is another place. And I'll tell you what, if you want a nice cold beverage, the Rodeo is the place to go. They got frozen mugs with lime on top of them, so you can get any beverage you want. And after a round of golf, there's nothing better than a nice cold drink, a refreshment, I should say. We haven't been to Guthrie in a couple of years, but our group normally goes as often as we can to Guthrie. All right. 37, Hastings. Let me write this down here. Blaze Hastings is the new pitcher for the Everett Washington Merchants. And he'll be facing the right fielder, number 34, Ian Bailey. So Neely went 3 1/3 inning, gave up 6 hits, 5 runs, 5 earned runs, 4 base on balls, and 2 strikeouts. Faced 19 batters. The first pitch by Hastings is called strike 1 to Ian Bailey. Bailey has got on base twice, once with a base hit in the first inning and a double, and scored a run in the third inning. And Hastings comes over the top, missing. Count is 1 ball and 2 strike. Correction, 1 ball and 1 strike. Missing high for ball 2. 2-1 now the count. Once again, we have Wisniewski at second base with 1 out here in the bottom half of the 4th inning, as the Angels have taken the lead 5-4 over the Everett Merchants. There's a ball missing inside by Hastings. The count goes to 3-1 now to Ian Bailey. Here's Hastings' pitch. Ball hit in a high fly ball into left field. Bailey gets under it, makes the catch for out number 2.
Third baseman number 13, Jose Diaz.
That's going to bring up the third baseman, number 13, Jose Diaz. And Diaz is batting .222. He's 0 for 1 with 1 run scored and a base on balls. And once again, the Angels played the first week, so their stats are continuing here in this championship week, to where the Merchants were batting for the very first time here in the NBC World Series, powered by Westar Energy. Count is 1 ball, no strikes. And coming over the top is Hastings. Evens up the count now at 1-1. We start early tomorrow. The first game's at 11 o'clock. But we'll end up early tomorrow, hopefully. There's a hard fly ball back to the seating area. Catcher McKennell went back to the screen but was not able to get to it. And the count is 1 ball, 2 strikes. To Jose Diaz. The ball, foul ball, along the left side. Taking chase is Witt, but not able to get to it. Nice hustle there by Witt. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Diaz. Once again, the runner at second base is Wisniewski. As we have 2 outs here in the bottom half of the 4th inning. And fouled off there by Diaz. So the count stays at 1 ball, 2 strikes to third baseman Jose Diaz. And now the Kennel calls timeout, gives Hastings some kind of signal there, or maybe he was talking to his fielders, I should say. Count evens up at 2-2 now to Jose Diaz, as we are in the bottom half of the 4th inning here in this ball game. And there's Hastings' pitch is fouled off along the third base side. The third base coach dodges that one. Count still at 2-2. There is 2 outs here in the bottom half of the 4th inning. And there's a ball hit into left field. Left fielder Bailey moves forward and makes the catch for out number 3. But not before San Antonio scores 3 runs. So at the end of 4 innings of play, it is the San Antonio, Texas Angels 5 and the Everett, Washington Merchants 4. We'll be right back.
Make the most of every single moment. After the game, see what's happening at visitwichita.com.
And we welcome you back here to Lawrence Dumont Stadium for the 84th National Baseball Congress World Series, powered by Westar Energy. This is Frank Martinez, your play-by-play announcer for most of all your 9:30 games. We're starting the top half of the 5th inning, but we're going to have a new pitcher. That new pitcher is going to be number 12, Ryan Ramsey, now pitching for San Antonio. Ramsey is from Coffeyville, Texas. He's a 6', 185 pounder. And Gilbert ends up going 4 innings, gave up 6 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned runs, 5 base on balls, and had 3 strikeouts as he faced 23 batters. Now batting is the shortstop number 7, Andy Atwood. Atwood is 0 for 2 and has 1 strikeout. As he struck out to end the first inning in the top half of the first inning, and then flew out to center field to record the second out of the third inning. So Ryan Ramsey now the pitcher for San Antonio. There's a check swing there by Atwood. Count evens up now at 1-1. A high kick there by Ryan Ramsey. That was ball 2. And missing outside. So Ramsey falls behind now. 3 balls and 1 strike to Andy Atwood. And then missing inside. So that's for ball 4. So Atwood will be at first base on a base on balls. It's going to bring up the right fielder, number 21, Ethan Smith. Ethan Smith is 0 for 2 as he grounded out to the shortstop in the second inning and grounded out to the third baseman to end the inning in the third inning. That shortstop was in the second inning. So the count is no balls and 1 strike to Ethan Smith. Runner at first base with no outs. And there's call, strike 2. 0-2 now the count. There's a swing and a miss for strike 3 as Ryan Ramsey records the first strikeout of the ball game. That's the first out of this inning. It's going to bring up the designated hitter, number 32, Evan Johnson. So Johnson comes up with 1 out in the inning and a runner at first base. And Ramsey throws over to first. With Atwood getting back safely. Ball got away from Hamill for just a second, but not very far. And Atwood was not able to move forward. 1 ball, no strike now to Evan Johnson, the designated hitter for the Everett Merchants, as we are in the top half of the 5th inning. There's a throw down by Lloyd to Hamill at first base. Back safely is Atwood. And the count is 2-0 now to Evan Johnson. There's call strike 1. As the count goes to 2 balls and 1 strike to Johnson. There's ball hit to the shortstop. Wisniewski goes to second. Kincaid. Kincaid attempts to turn the double play. Not able to. So it is a 6-4 out number 2. And Evan Johnson reaches on a fielder's choice. It's going to bring up the catcher number 25, Marcus McCannell. McCannell struck out in the top half of the 2nd inning and reached on a base on balls and scored a run. In the top half of the 4th inning. Count evens up now. The ball, 1 ball, 1 strike now to McCannell. We have Johnson at first base with 2 down now. Here in the top half of the 5th inning. Missing outside is Ramsey. So the count goes 2-1. .12:32 here in Wichita, Kansas. 77 degrees. And the winds have kind of calmed down a little bit. There's a ball hit to Wisniewski. Goes to Kincaid for the force out at second base. So 6-4 the put out for out number 3. At the end of 4.5, it is Merchants 4 and the Angels 5. And we'll be right back.
The wait is over. The multi-platinum award-winning duo Sugarland back on tour for the first time in 5 years. Still the same 2018 tour. Saturday, August 18th at Entrust Bank Arena. The undeniable distinctive sound of Sugarland with special guest Frankie Ballard and Lindsay L. Tickets are on sale now at selectaseat.com. Get ready for Sugarland.
Well, we'll welcome you back as we go to the bottom half of the 5th inning. And batting will be San Antonio, Texas Angels as they lead 5-4 over the Everett, Washington Merchants. Hastings will face first baseman number 40, Nick Hamill. Count is 0-1 now. Second pitch missing, low and outside. So evens up the count at 1 ball, 1 strike. We're just starting the bottom half of the 5th inning. 2-1 now the count by Blaze Hastings. There's a pitch hitting the outside corner. Evens up the count at 2-2. To Nick Hamill. First baseman for the Angels. Ball hit to the left-hand side. Witt gets it on the bounce, goes to Tilley for out number 1. 5-3 on the putout. That's going to bring up the designated hitter, number 4, Garrett Wilkinson. Wilkinson looking for his first hit of the game. He flew out to right field in the 2nd inning to start off the 2nd. And he flew out to left field to end the inning in the 3rd. So he's 0 for 2. There's the ball hit to the second baseman, Gomez. Gomez goes to Tilley for out number 2. 4-3 put out for out 2. Brings up the left fielder, number 26, Dylan Stump. Stump is batting .375. He's 0 for 1 in this ball game with 1 run scored and 1 base on balls. Once again, the Angels have stats from last week to where Everett is playing their first ball game here in the World Series. And a high fly ball into center field. Coming in was Rourke making the catch for out number 3. So at the end of 5 innings of play, it's the San Antonio, Texas Angels 5 and the Everett Washington Merchants 4. We'll be right back.
Leonard Skinner, last of the Street Survivors Farewell Tour. Saturday, September 29th in Trust Bank Arena. With special guest, the Marshall Tucker Band. Leonard Skinner on their final tour ever. Tickets are on sale now at selectaseat.com, the venue box office, or charged by phone. Leonard Skinner playing in Trust Bank Arena one last time.
And we welcome you back here to Lawrence Dumont Stadium as we go to the top half of the 6th inning. And leading off will be center fielder number 10, Gavin Work. Still pitching is number 12, Ryan Ramsey. So he's starting his 2nd inning of work. First pitch was a ball, 1-0 the count. Work looked like he's going to bunt and pull back, so the count is 2-0 as Ramsey misses. And there's a bunt down the third base side. Diaz comes in and gets to first, but not in time. And Gavin Work records a base hit here in the top half of the 6th inning. So Rourke now 1 out of 4 with 1 run scored and 1 strikeout. Now batting the second baseman, number 5, Anthony Gomez. Gomez is up there swinging. It's fouled off. And the catcher, Lloyd, gets the blunt of that foul ball. So home plate umpire Mike Lynch decides to walk that ball out to Ryan Ramsey to let old Lloyd get a few seconds to recover from that foul ball. Count is no balls and 1 strike now to Anthony Gomez. Gomez is 2 for 2 here in the ball game. He's batting 1,000 and has 2 runs scored, 1 base on balls. And there's a Ramsey's pitch outside. The count goes 2 balls, 1 strike. With the runner at first base, as Work got a base hit to start off the top half of the 6th. We have no outs here in the 6th inning for the Merchants. There's the ball, hit the left side, it's going to go foul. Diaz attempts to get that, but it is in foul territory. So the count is 2 balls and 2 strikes. Runner at first base and no outs. 5-4 in favor of the Angels over the Merchants. And here's Ramsey's pitch. Ball hit to the shortstop. A high bouncer to Wisniewski. He's going to have to hustle. Not going to be in time as Anthony Gomez beats that out on a high hopper to the shortstop. Wisniewski did a good job of coming in to try to get that, but Gomez hustled down and records a base hit. So now at second base is Work. Gomez at first. That's going to bring up the third baseman, number 15, Max Witt. And we have a just short timeout there. The manager for Everett was talking to Gavin Work at second base. So Rourke now heads back to second base. And stepping in is Max Witt, the third baseman. Witt has 1 hit. There's a fake bunt, but throw down from the catcher. Lloyd Wisniewski covering. Almost gets Rourke, but the ball falls out. So Rourke is in there safely. 1 ball and no strikes to Max Witt. There's a bunt laid down, and Ramsey grabs it along right-hand side, goes to first with Kincaid covering, but he pulled his foot before he made the catch. And first base umpire Brian Soulier calls him safe at first. So Witt is on. It's going to bring up the first baseman, number 16, Jake Tilley.
First baseman number 16, Jake Tilley.
So we got Rourke at third base, Gomez at second, and Witt now at first base. With no outs here in the top half of the 6th inning. Once again, the Merchants are down 5-4. There's a foul ball. Count goes no balls, 2 strikes to Jake Tilley, first baseman for the Merchants. He's looking for his first hit of the ball game for him. There's a hard hit ball to the third baseman. Third baseman grabs it, touches as third base, has a force out there, but a run scored from third base as Work crosses. Gomez is out at third base. Witt is now at second base, and Tilley's on with a fielder's choice. So the score now tied up at 5 apiece. Tilley gets that RBI. Now batting the left fielder, number 34, Casey Bailey. Bailey is 2 for 3. As he has 2 RBIs. He's batting .667 for the Merchants. 1 ball, 2 strikes now to Bailey. We still have runners at first and second with 1 out here. There's a fly ball into right field. Bailey makes the catch, and there's a tag up from second base. Witt goes to third on the play. We have 2 down now. So now batting for the Merchants will be the shortstop, number 7, Andy Atwood. That fly ball was deep enough to move Witt over to third base on the tag up. And we have 2 down. Andy Atwood is 0 for 2 with a base on balls and a strikeout. There's a hard hit ball along the third base side, goes foul. Goes into the Angels bullpen. So no balls, 2 strikes to Andy Atwood. There's a hard hit ball right past Ramsey, goes into center field. So we're going to have a run scored. Witt hustles in and touches home plate. Tilley will now be at second base, and Atwood has a base hit and an RBI. As now that takes the score to the Everett Merchants 6 and the San Antonio Angels 5. As the Merchants retake the lead now. Here in the top half of the 6th inning. Batting is the right fielder, number 21, Ethan Smith. 1 ball, no strikes to Smith. And here comes Ramsey with the throw. 2-0 now the count. Merchants scored 1 run in the first. Came back and scored 1 run in the third, and it was tied up at 2-2 after the Angels scored 2 runs in the bottom half of the second inning. Then the Merchants scored 2 runs in the 4th inning to make it 4-2. But the Angels answered back with 3 runs in the bottom half of the 4th to make it 5-4. And no runs were scored in the 5th. And here in the top half of the 6th inning, the Merchants have scored 2 more runs to retake the lead, 6-5. That's our scoring so far for this ball game. Count is 3 balls, 1 strike now to Ethan Smith, and there's a ball missing outside. So Smith will reach on a base on balls. Atwood will go to second base, who reached on a base hit. And going to third base is Tilley, who reached on a fielder's choice as he had an RBI. Brings up the designated hitter, number 32, Evan Johnson, is now batting for the Merchants. Johnson is 1 for 2 with 1 base on balls. There's the pitch from Ramsey, missing inside. Count is 1 ball, no strikes. with the bases full and 2 down. There's a pitch hitting the inside corner this time. So it evens out the count to 1-1. And Ramsey missing inside. And low the count. 2 balls, 1 strike now to Evan Johnson. Ramsey's pitch call strike 2. Evens up the count at 2-2. And there's call strike 3 for out number 3, but not before the Everett Merchants scored 2 runs. So at the end of 5.5 innings of play, it is the Merchants 6 and the Angels 5. We'll be right back.
Make the most of every single moment. After the game, see what's happening at visitwichita.com.
And we welcome you back as we go to the bottom half of the 6th inning in San Antonio. Will be batting to be the second baseman number 1, Ryan Kincaid. There's a hard hit ball past the third baseman and shortstop. So Kincaid records his second hit of the game. That's going to bring up the catcher number 15, Spencer Lloyd. Lloyd is 0 for 2, has 1 strikeout. And he flew out to the second baseman. As the ball gets away from the catcher, and hustling down to second base is Kincaid in safely. Ball got away from McKennell just for a second. Was able to stay in front of it, but it bounced in front of him, and by the time he had the throw down, Kincaid was in safely. Count is 1 ball, 1 strike now to Spencer Lloyd, who's looking for his first base hit of the ball game. There's a check swing along the right-hand side. It is fair. Tilley touches the base for out number 1. But on the play, Kincaid hustles to third base.
The center fielder, number 44.
Almost like a sacrifice. Brings up the catcher, number 15, the center fielder, number 44, Jordan Billups. Swing and a miss by Billups for strike 1. Hastings' pitch misses high and outside. Count is 1-1 now to Billups. Infield is in. Shorten in at third base and all the way around. They're almost to the green area. They're trying to get the cutoff at home plate. Swing and a miss there by Billups. Count is 2-2 now to Jordan Billups. Runner at third base with one out here in the bottom half of the sixth inning. Call strike three. Billups goes down looking for out number two. Now batting for the Angels will be the shortstop, number 11, Jack Wisniewski, who has 2 hits here in the ball game, as he's 2 for 3. As a base hit in the first, was left stranded at third base, grounded out to the second baseman, 4-3 in the third, and had a double in the bottom half of the fourth inning. With that double, cleared the bases as the bases were full, and Stump, Kincaid, and Billups all scored on that double. As they went up 5-4. 2 balls, 1 strike now to Wisniewski. And there's a little looper over the shortstop's head, Atwood. And coming in to score is Ryan Kincaid on that base hit by Wisniewski. And we also records an RBI. Now batting will be the right fielder, number 34, Ian Bailey. Wisniewski just stuck his bat out there, and the ball flew over shortstop Atwood's head into left field. And there's a swing and a miss by Bailey. 0-1 the count now by Blaze Hastings. There's a ball hit into center field, and that's going to be a base hit. Holding up at second base will be Wisniewski. So Bailey records his 3rd hit of the ball game, as he was 2 for 3. And here comes the manager for the Merchants. Bailey is now 3 for 4 with 1 run scored, as he's batting .474 here in the tournament. We are going to have a new pitcher for the Merchants. Coming in to pitch for the Merchants will be number 11. Take a look at that. Number 11 is Kenneth Coy. He's from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's a 6'4", 200-pounder junior out of the University of Sioux Falls. He's a right-handed thrower. Good-sized kid, 6'4". So he's coming in now in relief of Blake Hastings. And Hastings is done for the inning. He went 2 1/3 innings, gave up 3 hits, 1 run, 1 earned run, and 1 strikeout as he faced 10 batters here in the ball game. Once again, now batting for San Antonio will be the third baseman coming up. Third baseman 13, Jose Diaz. There's runners at first and second with 2 down. The score now tied up at 6 apiece for the San Antonio Angels and the Everett Washington Merchants. Well, missing outside. 2-0 the count. There's a ball hit to the third baseman over his head. Atwood, shortstop, attempted to get that, and it bounced away from him. And is safely at second base on a hustle is Jose Diaz. Wisniewski scored from second base. Bailey ends up at third. And Jose Diaz in with a double and an RBI as that ball went over Witt's head, and Atwood was able to get a glove on it, which made it bounce away from the left fielder. But by the time he got to it, Diaz was at second base. So the score now 6-7. There's a ball hit to Witt at third, goes to first Tilley for out number 3, but not before 2 runs score here in the bottom half of the 6th inning for the Angels. And the score, the Angels 7 and the Merchants 6. We'll be right back.
Never Ending Summer featuring 311 and The Offspring. September 9th in Trust Bank Arena. With special guest Gym Class Heroes. Tickets on sale now at selectaseat.com or by phone at 855-755-SEAT. 311 and The Offspring in concert.
And we welcome you back here to this game between the Everett Washington Merchants and the San Antonio, Texas Angels. As we head up to the top half of the 7th inning, the score, the Angels 7 and the Merchants 6. We're going to have a new pitcher for San Antonio. He will be number 32, Justin Lewis from Texas. He's a 6'1", 185 pounder. Correction, make that 195 pounder. Sophomore out of Midland Junior College. As first batter that will be facing here in the top half of the 7th inning is the catcher, number 25, Marcus McCannell. As it is now 1:05 here in Wichita, Kansas, along the banks of the Arkansas River. 76 degrees. There's a ball hit to the third baseman. Witt goes to Tilley for out number 1. 5-3 the put out. It's going to bring it up the center fielder, number 10, Gavin Rourke. As Justin Lewis is pitching now. 0-2 now the count. Against Gavin Rourke. Rourke is 1 out of 4. There's a foul ball. Rourke is 1 out of 4. He has scored 2 runs and has 1 strikeout, batting .250. Count goes 1 ball, 2 strikes now to Rourke. Nobody on base and 1 out here in the top half of the 7th inning. That missing way outside. 1-2 the count. There's a call, strike 3, ball right down the middle. So Lewis records his first strikeout. It's going to bring up the second baseman, number 5, Anthony Gomez. Gomez is 3 for 3 with 2 runs scored, 1 RBI, and 1 base on balls. There's a ball hit into right field. Bailey makes the catch, goes as he moves to his right for out number 3. At the end of 6.5 innings of play, it is the San Antonio, Texas Angels 7 and the Everett Washington Merchants 6. We'll be right back.
Make the most of every single moment. After the game, see what's happening at visitwichita.com.
And we welcome you back as we're doing the 7th inning stretch. We have a young man that has volunteered to sing the 7th inning stretch the last couple of nights. And doing a great job, actually. All right, leading off the bottom half of the 7th inning, designated hitter number 4, Grant Wilkinson for the San Antonio. And pitching is Coles. Count is 1 ball, no strikes. And a swing and a miss now by Wilkinson. Evens up the count now at 1-1. Swing and a miss again by Wilkinson. As we're in the bottom half of the 7th inning. Missing inside, 2-2 now the count. There's a ball hit to the right-hand side. Tilley gets under it, makes the catch for out number 1. Going to bring up the left fielder, number 26, Dylan Stump. Stump is batting .353 as he's 0 for 2 here in the ball game with 1 run scored and a base on balls. But he's batting .353 for the tournament. The Angels came in from the first week to qualify for the championship week. 2 balls and 1 strike with 1 out here in the bottom half of the 7th. There's a swing and a miss by Stump. Evens up the count now to 2-2. And there's a swing and a miss. Call strike 3 that swinging. So Stump goes down swinging for out number 2. Going to bring up the second baseman number 1, Ryan Kincaid. Kincaid is 2 for 2 with 2 runs scored and 1 base on balls as he's batting .368. There's a ball missing outside. 1 ball, 1 strike to Kincaid with 2 down in the bottom of the 7th. The score, the San Antonio, Texas Angels 7 and the Everett, Washington Merchants 6. Missing high. Count is 3-1 now. And there's call strike 2. As Kincaid dropped his bat and was hustling down to first base. So the count goes full now at 3-2. And that missing high. So it will be ball 4 to Kincaid. So he'll take his base. It's going to bring up the catcher number 15, Spencer Lloyd, for the Angels, with a runner at first base and 2 down here in the bottom half of the 7th inning. There's a fly ball to the right side. Is going to be out of play. Oh, and 1 now the count to Lloyd. Well, it goes over to first base. Back safely is Kincaid. Count is 1 ball, 1 strike now. And a foul ball into San Antonio's dugout. So we have 1 ball, 2 strikes with a runner at first base and 2 down here in the bottom half of the 7th. And it's tossed back over to first base. Kincaid in safely. And missing inside, so that evens up the count now at 2-2. And that ball bounces way in front of home plate and gets by the catcher, McCannell. So hustling down to second base was Kincaid. And the count is 2 balls, 2 strikes. Runner at second with 2 outs. There's a ball hit into right field. And trying to make a catch at the shoestrings was Smith, and the ball gets by him. So Lloyd will end up at third base, and Scoring from second will be Kincaid. We'll see exactly how they score this. That was an effort there by Smith. And looks like Lloyd is credited with a triple. It's going to bring up the center fielder, number 44, Jordan Billups. Another ball hit to Smith. A diving catch this time by Ethan Smith. Great catch there out in right field to end the inning. Not before one run scored. Now takes the score to the Angels 8 and the Merchants 6. We'll be right back.
Pain, back pain, all kinds of sprains. If your knee replacement aches when it starts to rain, at Advanced Physical Therapy, we treat that. At Advanced Physical Therapy, we treat that. Concussions, arthritis, carpal tunnel, tooth, fibromyalgia, Parkinson's, we've got the treatment for you. At Advanced Physical Therapy, we treat that. At Advanced Physical Therapy, we treat that. One-on-one sessions with a personal touch. Ask our thousands of patients why they love us so much. At Advanced Physical Therapy, we treat that. At Advanced Physical Therapy, we treat that.
And we welcome you back as we go to the top half of the 8th inning now for the Everett Merchants. Up to bat will be the third baseman, number 15, Max Witt. You're listening and watching the San Antonio, Texas Angels versus the Everett, Washington Merchants. This is Frank Martinez, your play-by-play announcer for tonight. We hope you're enjoying the broadcast. Once again, we're in the top half of the 8th inning. And the first pitch to Witt is, correction, that's second pitch. That's ball 2. As Witt is 2 for 3 with 1 run scored and 1 base on balls. And the ball hits Witt in the leg. So he'll be heading down to first base. The hits batsman. It's going to bring up the first baseman, number 16, Jake Tilley.
First baseman number 16, Jake Tilley.
And Lewis pitch. Message for ball 1. 1-0 now the count. Here in the top half of the 8th inning. Merchants down by 2, 8-6. There's a ball thrown to first base by Lewis to Hamill. And Witt was just a step or 2 off the bag, so had no problem getting back. Witt fakes a steal as he makes a little movement. Another ball. So it's 3-0 now to Jake Tilley, first baseman for the Merchants. And there's a pitch right down the middle. So the count goes 3-1. Now to Tilley. The ball hit along the right-hand side. Hamill's going back, coming in from right field is Bailey, but nobody's going to be able to get to it as it goes over the Merchants bullpen. So the count is full. 3 balls, 2 strikes, with a runner at first base and no outs. 1:20 a.m. here in Wichita, 76 degrees. And that ball gets away. Well, that's ball forward to Tilley, so he will be at first base. Hustling over to second is Witt. And now the left fielder, number 34, Casey Bailey. Now the batter. And he goes down the line to talk to manager. They had a little powwow on the infield. So we're ready to go now. Once again, we have runners at first and second with no outs here in the top half of the 8th inning. As the Merchants are down to 6 outs, as they're down 8-6 here in the ball game. Ball gets away. A double steal. Both runners take off. Witt ends up at third base and Tilley at second. It's 0-1 the count now to Bailey. And a swing and a miss. Foul ball. No balls, 2 strikes to Casey Bailey, left fielder for the Merchants. There's a ball hit to the right-hand side. The first baseman Hamill playing in. Looks back. Witt at third base and goes unassisted at first base for out number 1. It's going to bring up the shortstop, number 7, Andy Atwood. Atwood is 1 for 3 with 1 RBI, 1 base on balls, and 1 strikeout. He's batting .333 for the Merchants. There's a breaking pitch, about 66 miles an hour, that goes in for a strike. Evens up the count at 1-1. Another breaking pitch. That one at 67 miles per hour. The count goes 1-2 now to Andy Atwood. His pitch misses outside. Evens up the count now. 2 balls, 2 strikes. There's a foul ball by Atwood. Count stays the same. Once again, there's runners at second and third base with 1 out here in the top half of the 8th inning. There's a foul ball down the first base side. Also goes into the Merchants bullpen. Two balls, 2 strikes. Lewis pitches hit to the shortstop and gets by him was Newski. 2 runs are going to score. Witt scores from third base and Tilley from second. As that ball got right by Wisniewski. So that like that, 2-run score, and the score is tied at 8 apiece now. It's going to bring up the the right fielder number 21, Ethan Smith. And there's a pickoff at first base as Atwood's out for out number 2. That was Lewis to Hamill for the putout. For the second out of the inning. Attempted bunt there by Smith. It's called strike. And the count is 1 ball and 1 strike now to Smith from Lewis. And a swing and a miss by Ethan Smith. 1 ball, 2 strikes with 2 outs here in the top half of the 8th inning. But 2 runs have scored for the Everett Merchants to tie the ball game up at 8 apiece. We've had a couple extra inning games today. That has put us behind. Like I said, it's well after 1 o'clock, almost 1:30 here in Wichita. And I know some of these workers, like the camera worker to my right, is probably ready to go home. And there's a put out to first base for out number 3. But top half of the 8th inning, Merchants score 2. The score tied up at 8 apiece. We'll be right back. And we welcome you back here at the Lawrence Dumont Stadium. All tied up as we go to the bottom half of the 8th inning. And the Merchants scored 2 runs in the top half of the 8th. Coming up to bat for San Antonio will be the shortstop, number 11, Jack Wisniewski. Again, the score tied up at 8 apiece. Cole's pitch is 2-0 now. To Wisniewski. Call strike 1. 2-1 the count. And a foul ball. It's a count evens up now at 2-2. Ball hit up the middle, right over the pitcher's head to Gomez. Gomez goes to Tilley, but not in time. So Wisniewski will be on with a base hit in the bottom half of the 8th inning. As that ball took a high bounce over pitcher's head. Brings up the right fielder, number 34, Ian Bailey. And he's swinging away. The ball hit into right field over the right fielder's head, Bailey. And it goes clear to the wall. So ending up at third base will be Jack Wisniewski, and Ian Bailey's in with a double. That is his second double of the ball game. Also the 4th hit of the game for him, as he has 2 doubles and 2 singles. So he is now at second base. Wisniewski at third base, and now batting the third baseman, number 13, Jose Diaz. Coming up to bat, as Diaz is 1 for 3 with 1 run scored, 1 RBI, and 1 base on balls, batting .250 for the tournament. There's a hard fly ball into right field. Backing up is Smith. Makes the catch. Both runners tag up. Scoring from third base is Wisniewski. And going to third base is Ian Bailey. So an RBI there by Jose Diaz as he flew out to deep right field. F9. It's going to bring up the first baseman, number 40, Nick Hamill. So now the score, the San Antonio, Texas Angels 9 and the Everett, Washington Merchants 8. And I'm sure that they would love to get another insurance run across, as Bailey is at third base with 1 out. There's a ball high. Count goes 1-1 now to Nick Hamill. Hamill is 1 for 4. There's a hard hit ball to right field. Once again, Smith backs up, makes the catch, but tagging up from third base is a Bailey, and he is in safely at home. So another run scores. F9 again and an RBI. Get a sacrifice fly. The last 2, and brings up the designated hitter, number 4, Garrett Wilkinson. Will be coming up the bat. Wilkinson's 0 for 4 here in this ball game, but he gets his first hit of the game as he hits that into center field. And he'll be stopping at first. And he'll bring up the left fielder, number 26, Dylan Stumpf. And the ball gets away from the catcher, and Wilkinson heads to second base. There's a ball hit to the shortstop. Atwood goes to Tilly at first for out number 3. But here in the bottom half of the 8th inning, the San Antonio Angels scored 2 runs, and that takes the score to 10-8 in favor of the Angels. We'll be right back.
The city's not just built, it's grown to the needs of people. You make the infrastructure, the muscle, bone, and circulation so natural to the body of the city that you almost forget they're even there.
And we welcome you back here to Lawrence Dumont Stadium for the 84th National Baseball Congress World Series. Powered by West Star Energy as we go to the top half of the 9th inning between the Everett, Washington Merchants and the San Antonio, Texas Angels. The score, the Angels 10 and the Merchants 8. Leading off the top half of the 9th inning, the designated hitter number 32, Evan Johnson, is now batting. And Justin Lewis, the pitcher for Everett Merchant, correction for San Antonio. Johnson is 1 out of 3 here in the ball game. Has 1 base on balls, 1 strikeout. He's batting .333. And a hard hit ball down the third base line, foul. Count is 2 balls and 2 strikes to Evan Johnson, as the Merchants are down to their last 3 outs. And there's a miss high, so the count goes full now to Evan Johnson, designated hitter for the Everett Merchants. Lewis pitch misses outside. So on base is Johnson with a base on balls. Going to bring up the catcher number 25, Marcus McKennell. Runner at first base with no outs. There's a pitch by Lewis, strike 1. And the count is 0-1. Cano was 0 for 3 with 1 run scored, 1 base on balls, and a strikeout. Toss over to first base to Hamill. Johnson back safely. They need base runners here in the, and we have a strike. Breaking pitch, 63 miles an hour. Hit the outside corner, according to umpire. So the count is 0-2 now. There's a fastball swinging, strike 3 by McKennell. Going to bring up the center fielder number 10, Gavin Rourke. Rourke is 1 out of 5 with 2 runs scored, 2 strikeouts, as he's batting .200. And the ball behind Rourke. 2-0 now the count. Lewis can't afford to put any more base runners on here. Only up by 2 runs. And a throw over to first base. Back safely is Evan Johnson, as he was not going anywhere. Here's the pitch outside by Lewis. 3-0 now the count. There's a strike 1 right down the middle to Gavin Rourke. There's another call, strike 2. So the count goes full now. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Runner at first base with 1 out here in the top half of the 9th inning, as the Merchants are down 10-8. There's a ball hit to over the shortstop's head with Newski into center field. Billups, correction, gets that ball right back in. So stopping at second base will be Johnson. On with a base hit is Rourke. As Rourke now is 2 out of 6. It's going to bring up the second baseman, number 5, Anthony Gomez. Gomez is 3 out of 4. Batting .750 with 2 runs scored, 1 RBI, and 1 base on balls. Left-handed pitcher against a right-handed batter. First pitch missing outside for ball 1. This count goes 1-0 now to Anthony Gomez. There's Cole, strike one. All 3 hits that Gomez has had have been base hits, single hits. No extra base hits for Gomez as of yet. Call timeout before that last pitch. Count is 1 ball, 1 strike with 1 out. There's a ball hit to the right-hand side. It's going to be out of play. So the count is 1 ball, 2 strikes now to Gomez. 1 out. There's Gomez almost went on that pitch, held back. So the count evens up at 2-2 now. There's a breaking pitch missing high and outside. Full count now, 3-2 now to Gomez, with runners at first and second and 1 out here in the top half of the 9th inning. There's a ball hit right down the third base line, just foul. Making an effort there was Diaz, but the ball went foul. So we stay at full count, 3-2. There's a ball hit right down the third base side. Diaz steps on the plate, goes to first, but not in time, and Hamill drops the ball as it goes in his glove and out. But a great play there by Diaz at third base to making that stop and touching the base. The force out at third base. So Gomez is on with a fielder's choice. On at second base is Rourke. And out at third base was Johnson. Brings up the third baseman, number 15, Max Witt. Witt is 2 for 3 here in this ball game, as he has 2 run scores and 1 base on balls as he's batting .667. Oh, 1 now the count. Evens up the count now at 1 ball, 1 strike now to Max Witt. From Justin Lewis. Once again, hits the batter. So Witt will head down to first base. It's going to load up the bases. Once again, Rourke reached on a base hit, and now he's standing at third base. On with the fielder's choice as Gomez hit down the third base and was forced at third. So he's at second base now. And Witt gets hit by a pitch. Now he's at first. Bases loaded for birthday boy, first baseman Jake Tilley. Tilley is batting 0 for 3 with a run scored, 2 RBIs, and 2 base on balls. There's a ball hit up the middle. It's going to be a base hit. 1 run scores as Rock Rourke is in. Gomez scoring from second base. And Jake Tilley has tied the ball game up at 10 apiece with a base hit. Well, happy birthday there, Mr. Tilley. Rourke scores. Gomez scores, and now standing at second base is Witt. As Tilley is now 1 for 4 with 1 run score and 4 RBIs, 2 base on balls. Now batting the left fielder, number 34, Casey Bailey. And the ball gets away from the catcher, Lloyd. So Witt goes to third base. Tilley gets to second base. And there's a discussion now going on. Umpires and managers. Not exactly sure what. But the fans are all into it also. So we're ready to go as left-handed batter Bailey's up, with runners at second and third now here in the top half of the ninth inning, as the Everett Merchants have scored 2 runs to tie the ball game up. But they have the go-ahead run at third base, an insurance run at second with 2 down. And there's a swing and a miss by Bailey. Now getting up in the bullpen, I believe it's number 8 for San Antonio. There's a swing and a miss, strikeout. Bailey goes down, but not before the Merchants scored 2 runs to tie the ball game up at the end of 8.5 innings of play. The score tied up at 10 apiece. We'll be right back.
Mount up, take off, and chase the sun. Experience more of what makes Kansas great. And let K-Tag help you get there. 236 miles of road, endless destinations of wonder. Start your adventure with K-Tag. Get your free K-Tag at myktag.com.
Well, we'll welcome you back here to this ball game between San Antonio, Texas Angels and the Everett, Washington Merchants. The score tied up at 10 apiece as we head down to the bottom half of the ninth inning. And we have a new pitcher now for the Merchants. Will be number 44, Sam Knapp. He's coming in to pitch. Knapp is a right-handed thrower from Twin Falls, Indiana. He's a 6'4", 210-pounder, senior out of Northern State University. And he'll be facing Ryan Kincaid, and he comes in at 89 miles per hour on that first pitch, but it is ball 1 to Kincaid as we're in the bottom half of the ninth inning. I believe this would be, if they don't score any runs, I believe it would be our third extra inning game of the night. That's why we're looking at 1:50 in the morning here in Wichita, Kansas. Call strike one. Don't officially have baseball around the clock, but tonight we may. The ball gets away from the catcher. McKennell. Kincaid is officially 2 for 2 here tonight. As he has scored 3 runs and has 2 base on balls and calls strike 2. He's batting .368 for the tournament. And here comes App's pitch. Miss. Call strike 3 on the inside corner for out number 1. Brings up the catcher number 15, Spencer Lloyd. Fouled off there by Lloyd. Lloyd is 1 for 4 tonight with 1 RBI and 1 strikeout. And he's batting .353 for the tournament. 0-1 the count. Swing and a miss by Lloyd. Knapp is up. No balls, 2 strikes with 1 out here in the bottom half of the 9th inning. That pitch is high. Count goes 1-2 now. And there's a swing and a miss for strike 3. As that records the second strikeout of the ball game. Going to bring up the center fielder number 44, Jordan Billups. Billups is 0 for 3 here in the ball game with 1 run scored, 1 base on balls, and 2 strikeouts. There's a ball hit to the right-hand side, and the ball gets by Tilley. Going to bring up the shortstop number 11, Jack Wisniewski. As we have an error charged to Tilley. A swing and a miss there by Wisniewski. Billups is on at first base. We have 2 down here in the bottom half of the 9th inning. Score tied up at 10 apiece. And a swing and a miss there by Wisniewski. The count goes no balls, 2 strikes. We'll see if Billups tries to get in scoring position here. And he is taken off. There's a ball hit into short left field. That ball's going to get away from the left fielder. Here comes Billups scoring from first base on a base hit by Wisniewski, who took a crazy bounce out in left field. And the ball got away from the left fielder, Bailey. And in the bottom half of the 9th inning, the San Antonio, Texas Angels win 11-10 as they score a run. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it can't get any more exciting than that. This is the kind of games that we've had all day long today. They've been fun to announce, but it's been a lot of work. Once again, our scores today was 10-1. Cyclones over the Black Bears, and then we had the national team coming back and scoring in extra innings, 7-6 over the Force. And then we had 8-7, the San Diego Waifs scoring against the Cheney Diamond Dogs. And then just now the San Antonio Angels winning 11-10 in the bottom half of the ninth inning as they scored a run. Well, we hope you join us tomorrow evening. As tomorrow, well, we won't have a night game. They will be by the radio. So, but we do have action tomorrow. 11 o'clock game, Clarinda, Iowa A's versus the San Diego, California Stars. That 1:30 is the Lone Star Baseball versus Seattle, Washington Studs. 4 o'clock game will be Dodge City, Kansas A's versus the Santa Barbara, California Foresters. And then our 7 o'clock feature game tomorrow will be the Wellington, Kansas Heat versus the Hayes, Kansas Larks. This is Frank Martinez wishing you all a good morning, and we'll see you tomorrow for the 84th.